Hello friends, welcome to the new video of Tech Miracles. Today's video is the continuation of simple 3-tier application. In this video, we discuss the other two forms, admin home and user home. This is the layout of an admin home. An admin is login with his username and password is directed to this admin home. In this admin home, admin can view all the users and their details. If any user is registered to this site, his status is pending. Admin is confirming his status to confirm, then only user is allowed to this site. Also, admin can block the user. In this form, there is a table with 3 columns and 4 rows. First row, we are adding a label admin home. Then the second row, first column, we placed a grid view. In this grid view, we can edit these columns. First, we add bound field. I'm already adding some bounds fields and template fields to this grid view. Just show how to add the template and bounds field to the grid view. Just click the grid view, then we get a pop-up here. Then click on that. Then select edit columns. We get a window like this. Select bound field, then select add. Here we get a bound field property window. Then here header text we can add like username, password, etc. Also corresponding data field, that is the name of the field corresponding table in the database. Here we use the table registration in the database. Username is the field name of the corresponding field in registration table. Like all the fields are adding to this, we can add to template field. Select template field, then click add. These are the 2 template fields. Then click OK. Here edit template field. Here we get a template field edit window. Here I add one link button. Just place a link button and edit its properties. In this property window, add the text field and ID to this link button. Then select next template. It also place one link button and also change this property here in property window. Then click this pop-up and select end template editing. And the last one is the logout button. Admin can log out from the site. Here our grid view data binding is done via code. Then double click on the logout button. We get the click event of logout button response.redirect login.axpx. In this form, we also create an object for business layer. Business layer objbl is equal to new business layer. Using this objbl, data binding of grid view 1 is done. Grid view 1.data source is equal to objbl.gridload. Gridload is the method in business layer class. Then in business layer public object gridload object ob is equal to objdbl.load customer db. Load customer db is the method in data layer. Here is the method in data layer public object load customer db. Dataset ds is equal to new dataset. Ring sql is equal to select star from registration. Registration is the table name of dataset. ds is equal to dataset of execute sql string sql. Return ds. Here we get the entire data of the registration table, and this object is passed from here to business layer method gridload. Here the object is assigned to this object ob, and this object is returning from here to admin home, and we get entire data in registration table. Grid view 1.data binding is done here. All the data in the table is binding to the grid view. And also we have to create code for block and confirm link buttons. Click grid view, then get pop-up, then select edit template field, then double click on the block link button, then we get the click event. Then select another template field column 11, confirm, double click on this confirm link button, then we get the click events of both block click and the confirm click. For blocking and confirming the user, we get the corresponding user ID from the grid view. For that, we select the grid view cell number or the row number. Using that, for blocking or confirming a user, we get the user ID of corresponding user. For that, grid view row grd row is equal to grid view row link button sender dot naming container string row number is equal to grd row dot cell of 0 dot text. Here we get the corresponding cell. Then that cell number is converting to the integer, and the integer variable deal id is storing the corresponding user id. Using that user id, call a method in business layer objbl dot block customer deal id. Deal id is our corresponding user id. Then the business layer block customer int id. id is our corresponding user id, and then the business layer is calling another method from the data layer objdbl dot block customer db. This is the corresponding method in data layer. Public void block customer db in cust id. String SQL is equal to update registration set status is equal to block, where id is equal to cust id. Status of the corresponding id in the registrations table is set to block. And calling insert update delete SQL string query, and then the execute non-query will be updated and the status is set to block. The process is same as confirm in button click. Here the status is set to confirm other than block, and the both methods are working in the same way. Then the other page is user's home page. If I registered user login with his username and password, his status is confirmed by the admin, and if the user is not blocked, then the user can enter into this home page. Otherwise, status of that registered user is pending or blocked, user can't enter to this home page. If he can enter into the home page, he can view his own profile, name, address, age, phone number, email, gender, username, password, and the corresponding details are printed in these text boxes. If the user can edit any of this detail and update it by clicking this edit button. If the user is logouting from the site, he can click on this logout button. For coding edit button, double click on this edit button. We get the corresponding click event of edit button. Create an object for business layer. Business layer objbl is equal to new business layer. In the page load, username password are stored in the sessions, and using that username and password, select corresponding ID from the registration table. For that, we use the methods objbl.select ID, username and password are the arguments. When the method call is in business layer public in select ID string usernames, comma string password. Here we call another method that is in data layer objdbl.select ID username comma password. This is the corresponding method in data layer. Using SQL connection, obj SQL con is equal to new SQL connection, string SQL is equal to select ID from registration, where username is equal to username, here we pass, and the password is equal to password. SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command SQL. This is our query. cmd.connection is obj SQL con, SQL con.open, SQL data reader, reader is equal to cmd.execute reader. If reader.read id is equal to convert.2in32 reader of id. Here we get the id that is in string, and that will be converted to in32 to integer. Then that connection is closed and the id is returning from here, and the business layer, this integer variable id is receiving this responding id and returning from here to user's home, and the id is receiving here. Using with that corresponding id, we select all the details from that user from the registration table. For that, we call another method objbl.load user, business layer method load user with argument id. Using this id, we calling business layer method load user for loading the details of the corresponding user. This is the corresponding method in business layer load user int id. In this method, return type is an array. Here we create a string array named a. That array receiving the details of corresponding user. We call another data layer method objdbl dot load user b id. This is the corresponding method. Public string array load user b int id SQL connection obj SQL con is equal to new SQL connection string SQL is equal to select star from registration where id is equal to id. SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command SQL cmd dot connection is equal to obj SQL con dot open SQL data reader is equal to cmd dot execute reader. If reader or read array of 1 is equal to reader of name dot string, array of 2 is equal to reader of address dot string, array of 3 is equal to reader of phone number dot string. Like all the fields are receiving here in array, obj SQL con dot close and returning that array from here and receiving that array in this string array A and returning that string array from here to user home dot xps and receiving that string array in this string array A. Now the string array A contains all the details of that user with the id and again we select status from the database. String status is equal to obj bl dot get status. Business layer get status method is here and again we call another method obj dbl dot get status. This is the corresponding method in data layer using SQL connection. String s is equal to null. SQL connection obj SQL con is equal to new SQL connection con string SQL is equal to select status from DB registration where ID is equal to ID. SQL command CMD is equal to new SQL command SQL SCMD dot connection obj SQL con dot open SQL data reader dot reader is equal to CMD dot execute reader. If reader dot read then s is equal to reader of status dot to string obj SQL con dot close return. As here string s is returning from here and receiving the corresponding string s in business layer methods get status and that string also returning from here to user home dot aspx and that is receiving this string status. If the status equal to block session username and password are clear and then response dot redirect login dot asps with a message blocked. In this login dot asps lbl message dot text is equal to request dot query string message. That message we send from the user home dot asps will be displayed in the lbl message dot text that is blocked. lbl message is displayed the corresponding message blocked. Otherwise, if the status is not equal to block, then all the text boxes is displayed corresponding values. That is txt name dot text is equal to a of 1. A of 1 is array of 1 contains the field name, array of 2 contains the field address, array of 3 contains field phone number, like that. All the text boxes will display the corresponding field values. Double click on the edit button, we get the click event of edit button. If any of the field is edited, then obj update registration with txt name dot text txt address dot text. Like all the fields are passed from here to business layer. Update registration method in business layer is receiving name, address, phone number, email, like all the values and calling another method in data layer obj dbl dot update customer db with the name, address, like all these arguments. Here is the corresponding method in data layer update customer db with this method is updating the corresponding customers details. Here is our coding and designing session of our project is completed. Then we have to run the project. Then set login.asps as our starting page. Then we have to set login.asps as the starting page. Right click on that page, select set as start page, then run the project. This is our login.asps home page of the site. This is the sign in. We have to log in with the username and password. This is the sign up. Goes to our registration page, back login page, then clear button, submit button, back button. Okay, thank you for watching my video. Thank you very much.